Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we look at what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Well, Europe's energy supply is looking at two major problems. No wind and Norway's reluctance to share its electricity with the rest of Europe. At the end of last week, the cost of a kilowatt hour in Scandinavian Norway reached a record high over the last 15 years of 1.13 euros. Will Oslo continue to help continental Europe at a time when they need their own electricity? First, let's look at the weather for January, and according to meteorologists and weather forecasters, Europe is facing a colder winter than normal, with lower temperatures and weak winds. If you take into account that the region has already used record amounts of gas from their underground storage facilities, but they can't refill them because of the halt in gas transit from Russia through Ukraine, they're going to need it. Europe is going to need more gas to stabilise the situation, plus currently the price of gas is already at a record high for the year. Now Europe's set for a colder than normal January, probably with weaker winds, boosting the demand for natural gas as the continent grapples with the end of the gas transit deal between Ukraine and Russia this week. Now the forecasters at Maxar Technology predict a sharp drop in temperatures across Europe in early January in most of the UK, France, Germany and the Nordic countries, and that could last till at least the end of the month, the forecasters say. So a lack of gas and no wind are going to create serious problems for the countries of the EU and obviously the UK, which is no longer a member. Now, there's Norway problem. The country is a major gas producer. It's also a major supplier to the EU of not just gas, but of electricity, and that situation may change and compound the energy problems of the Europeans. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund the channel and my website, SCOBRICSinsight.com, to further develop it. You can do this by making a small donation, which is done by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who donates does get a personal thank you from me. Now, when the European Union imposed tough sanctions on Russian oil, Norway came out with the grandiose problems to save Europe from its energy crisis by making its oil and gas available to the EU. Now, the current situation brings to mind if promises are not always kept. Now, the hopes arose in the Union of the 27 for a comfortable life without Russian gas, according to the promises. So the captivated European population then didn't actually pay much attention to the warnings of some analysts that the Scandinavian energy resources were just not going to be enough to meet the European demand now that they didn't have any gas from Russia. And today Norway's had to reduce its supplies to Europe if it wants to stop its domestic electricity prices from getting out of control. Now at the beginning of 2023, the Norwegian government issued several licenses for the exploration of new oil fields, which was contradicting the programme to abandon fossil fuels in electricity production and violating the order to transition to green energy and meet their decarbonisation targets. However, the Norwegian government has defended this decision, stating it's crucial for both Norway and Europe in the current geopolitical climate. Now, according to the Spanish business publication Economies, Oslo's shift in focus towards prioritising domestic energy supplies is aimed at maintaining competitive electricity prices in Norway. This move, however, has contributed to a significant energy challenges on the European continent. Now, the Norwegian Labour and the Centre Party, the two leading parties in Norway's governing coalition, are seeking to cancel the agreement with Denmark, under which Oslo gives it a fair bit of its electricity production. Now, the coalition's minority partner, the Socialist Left Party, believes this should not be enough and that existing energy ties with the UK and Germany should also be reviewed. This is due to the fact that the exorbitant electricity prices in Norway could increase further if they were to continue to export their electricity production to neighbouring countries during critical times. So it looks like it's going to be a slap in the face for Mr. Sir Wen Kier and Mad Ed Miliband in the UK, who are relying on help from Norway to keep the lights on due to them shutting down pretty much all forms of fossil fuel generation in the UK and relying on unicorn farts and wishful thinking to keep the lights on. Plus Sergeant Schultz in Germany and his green loony and idiot Annalena Baerbock are going to be in for a major shock as they don't get any electricity from there. Now, when people are cold and hungry, they do tend to get angry, so we could see some fireworks in Europe this winter. Now, calm weather conditions in Germany and the North Sea, where the wind turbines are located, have resulted in electricity prices in southern Norway reaching 1.13 euros per kilowatt hour. And that's the highest level since 2009 and 20 times higher than the previous week. Now, the Norwegian Energy Minister, Terje Asland, described the situation as extremely challenging, expressing strong personal feelings about the matter. He said, "We've enjoyed a stable electricity market for decades, but now the situation has changed significantly for the worst, and there's no certainty that it will improve." Now, the Labour Party has announced that it has a commitment to disconnect the interconnector with Denmark. It'll be one of the points in its election platform for the parliamentary elections in September. Now, the current agreement to supply electricity to Denmark is due to expire in 2026 and can be extended automatically if both parties agree to do so. However, critics have voiced concern that Norway's reliance on electricity exports will impact domestic prices, and that's a matter of particular interest to the European Union, given the bloc's significant reliance on Scandinavian-produced electricity to maintain its balanced energy prices across the continent. I mean, this is a critical moment for the EU-Norway relationship, because cutting energy ties with Europe will not be well received, the EU ambassador to Oslo was quoted by the Financial Times as saying. Now, Brussels insists that European electricity markets should be fully integrated and mutually beneficial and focused on helping one another participants. Now, yeah, right, okay. I had a laugh at that one too. The EU capital also noticed that Norway occasionally imports electricity via the interconnectors when necessary. Yeah, really. Now, the current government's loss of the up-and-coming elections and the subsequent rise of the right-wing Progress Party, which is currently leading the polls, are both viewed by experts as likely eventualities. So what you're looking for is a break with Denmark and a reform of the agreements with the UK and Germany to avoid what they call price contagion, as in they have to pay too high prices. Now, this phenomenon known as Dunkelflaut, which is German for dark calm, has already led to a surge in the price of 1 megawatt hour and a peak load to €1,000 in Germany. Now, increases in Spain are not as substantial in absolute terms. I mean, the relative rise is significant from €68 to 146 in December, and Norway is also a major gas producer with 112 billion cubic meters per year, and that's more than enough to meet its country's industrial and domestic needs. However, the reality that the growing demand from electricity in its neighbouring countries and the decline in renewable generation productivity in Europe has led to a 143% increase in energy prices on the exchange to 50.33 per megawatt hour. Now, that's a huge increase from the 26 euros recorded at the end of October. Now, it also should be noted that electricity prices is not a general trend in the entire Scandinavia, but it's evident that in the southern regions of Norway, where energy is transmitted to continental Europe, it's pretty serious. In the north and west, where prices remain at last year levels, these populations are sparsely, and the vast majority of Norway's population is in the southern regions, with 40% of the population actually residing in Oslo and its suburbs alone. Now, for these individuals, even a moderate surge in prices to far below the levels in Berlin would be a significant financial impact, given the fact that they pay such high taxes too. I mean, this underscores the pivotal role Norway plays in Europe's energy landscape, as it's a key contributor to the continent's energy system, and it supplies a substantial proportion of the energy it generates. Now, Norway's the leading European producer of hydroelectric power, for example, has a capacity of 137 terawatts when the EU only produces 637 from that source, and its neighbours, including Denmark and Germany, have been actively developing wind power in recent years in compliance with the EU's Green Transition Programme. Now, these countries abandoned their nuclear plants, closed their dirty coal thermal plants, etc. Now, Germany claims that it has 27% wind power share in its electricity production, where the Netherlands has 15% and Denmark claims it has 40%. Now, when wind power generation has declined, Europe's energy system has had to rely on all available production sources to meet demand. And that's where Norway comes in. Norway is a country with a strong tradition of energy exports, but it's now feeling the challenges of meeting the increased demand. And it's quite possible this overestimated its capabilities for transmission and production of electricity. According to analysis, the European energy crisis is going to persist until the end of February. That means that the Norwegians will either have to endure the dubious pleasure of paying double the price they have for electricity for another 3 months, which they are selling their production, which they could keep for themselves, and making profits for their electricity companies. I mean, Norwegian parliamentarians have shown their bewilderment in the fact that the country's overproduction of electricity yet still places high prices. I mean, 30% of the gas imported by Europe is currently from Norway, and residents of the Oslo and other cities have to pay exorbitant electricity bills. But it's because the country's producers find it more profitable to export electricity and take advantage of the high European market prices rather than heat their fellow countrymen for lower costs. So it does look like the politicians have wised up, and the Norwegians are going to pull the plug on cheap electricity for the UK and EU and focus on their own people. Sensible people. Now, thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and if you want to help me out, click on the thanks button at the bottom of the screen and make a donation, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.